Hi there, it's the Litecoin Wyckoff session. There's a bit of thunder out there, I hope that the mic isn't catching it. So we're looking at Litecoin from both the weekly as well as the daily time frame lens. Here, last week we asked, is it the buying climax that Litecoin is heading to? So here this week started off pretty high, or reached upon pretty high, very close to the buying climax, back to the December 2024, and it's actually around the level where the second test happened and closed at. So during February this year, mid-Feb and the third week of February, that's where the price closed and opened, or it's basically that range. Those 2 weeks were pretty narrow range, open close. If this is really the buying climax, that's going to be very interesting because the PSY lasted only for 3 weeks, and then the buying climax is like a, how should I say, it's very weak climax because within the same week it dropped by 50% from the high point. So that's why I said it's interesting. As of now, the volume isn't very high. We're only 2 weeks, not 2 weeks, 2 days into this week. I hope, or the bulls would hope, that the buying climax should at least somewhere above this white line at around $132. So that's the line I was talking about. This is actually the long-term playground zone that I like to name it because people play within this zone most of the time since 2017. So now, if this is really the buying climax, like the unfortunate scenario, I hope it isn't. I hope it gives at least this week to close closer to the white line. If it really fails, we can take a peep into the daily chart and see what happened. The selling volume actually climbed, much like the buying volume during the past 7 days. Past 7 days, like last session we talked about, okay, we probably have seen this second test. So is the price heading towards a sign of weakness? Indeed, it showed sign of weakness, and then it rebounded. We also put in a tag, would we see an upthrust, given in the weekly that it was still climbing. It looks like it's going to the buying climax back then. I can take away this question mark for, not the whole thing, I just want to take away the question mark for PSY, because that's been confirmed. So if the price really was only around the PSY period heading towards the buying climax, obviously in the daily we expect an upthrust after that early buying climax here on July 21st. Remember, when I say buying climax here in the daily, it's not the same as the buying climax we have in the weekly, so don't mix up the two. What happens in the daily stays with daily. So this upthrust, even though it's not very, or not way higher than the buying climax, I'll still give it okay, you are the upthrust. So like I said, hopefully it returns up, but across the board there are a lot of pressure, especially today. So that's why we see this high red volume bar over here. If it really declines from the upthrust, what it means is heading towards another sign of weakness. If you check, that's probably a phase D in terms of Wyckoff terminology. That one was phase B, the early one back in late July, end of July. The current one we're heading to, if it really happens, that's phase D, sign of weakness. If you don't want it to be so complicated, forget about the phase. Basically, they are both sign of weaknesses. After the climb, it will come down for a low point to find support, and the current support line is at around $100. That's a level, the yellow support level with all these references here. Obviously, once I shrink this, you notice there's an intermediate level where the last sign of weakness, find support. That's the level over here. We can draw a line way back to 2024, end of 2024. So that's the line I'm talking about, at around 105. So you see, let me use this. You see this peak over here, these peaks, I mean the candlesticks heads, here, here, as well as here, this tip, and then eventually the sign of weakness. So many points that we can take reference, even all the way back to early 2003 or even earlier. You see these back in 2021. So long story short, this is a very obvious support and resistance level at 105, and that if it really comes down, if it breaks the 115, the green level, that's the first line of support it has to break below. And then there's a weaker one at around 109 or 110. Then a stronger level, this is a weaker one at around 110. A stronger level would be 105. And then that's probably where the new sign of weakness will end up at. So either the dashed yellow or the solid yellow. The solid yellow, again, you see all these found support at this point. So that's probably even stronger than the dashed yellow. So that's where it looks like it's heading, combining the weekly and daily view as well as the selling volume that's been on the rise. Hopefully it will find support somewhere between the dashed yellow and the solid yellow, and if that happens, that means it will end up here. And if that's really the buying climax that we've already seen, when it comes down to this yellow or even the dash yellow, that means that's where the automatic reaction is. So back here in December 2024, that's where the automatic reaction also ended at. So initially, like the second week, the second red candle after the buying climax, the automatic reaction landed around the yellow level. The next week, it tried to bounce up, but then got pushed back down to right below the line, and then eventually it climbed back to the second test. So this time, it may happen in a similar sense, that it comes down and shows us this automatic reaction. There may be a chance a low second test happen around the green line, not as high as the white line. But if very crazily good news come out, then by then we'll see an upthrust. But it's still far from where we are now. So as of this moment, let's expect the automatic reaction to happen after this buying climax. And in the daily, that's where the next sign of weakness will be appearing. And after that, if it really rebound to a second test in the weekly level, then for the daily, that's where, of course, potentially another second test would arrive. So right over here, I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, around this green line level. If it really goes beyond, that's very good news for the bulls, but as of now, doesn't look very likely. Yep, thanks for joining me today. The rain is getting heavier if you hear the sound of water.